what you asked for. Heavy is the crowd, fire in the sunrise, ashes raining down. Heavy is the crowd.
BLG 加油 ，FPL 加油。
Gumayusi still holding on to that flash down, locks him up, he flashes the ignite, sticking, and BLG strike first.
Nice. C1 decision right now. Do they just let Faker farm turret play?
It's Guma! It's at the Baron pit! I know it's the Grubs right now, but he always manages to steal it. Already they've locked up T1 in the middle of the meat grinder, and one has gone down. Zeus falls. Faker getting chased out as well, and Bin's flashing forward. But the oncoming masses are just too damn strong. An arm into the wall. Faker's fate is sealed as he dives the backline and dies for it. BLG come out swinging and take game one.
BLG choke slam T1 in this very first game. I mean, what an entree into a best of 5 grand final when you have that Summoner's Cup looking at you as you are playing. It wasn't on my bingo card that this was going to be 1, so convincing, and maybe even 2 for BLG because they started on the red side. What happened?
Well, you might notice I sound a little bit congested. You could think that was because of the amazing teaser, but as it turns out, it was because of the level of play of T1 in that game 1 because they got slammed. And we can talk about a draft a little bit later, but to me, this was mostly just about the gameplay that came through from BLG.
Yeah, and it starts at level 1, right? Like where they do have the level 1 collapse here. As you see, this gets Knight off to a really great start, puts T1 in a really difficult position. And this also could have been what potentially might have stopped a lane swap, because I did talk about how I did think T1 would look potentially for something like that.
And it's something you just always have to be aware of, whether it's Sylas, whether it's Gragas, whether it's Shen, these champions that can start a dash, go over the wall, get behind you, and put that pressure on. And BLG took the lead that they had and ran with it. I mean, this was just perfectly played by Shen. Knocks Zeus out of the hop, W flash to finish him off under the tower.
What's also really telling is the amount of flashes that were expended from T1 while still dying in the play. They don't flash the initial play, so BLG both got a tons of summoners, still made the play work, and then got the punish subsequently as well.
Yeah, and Elk was on his Ashe, and we love seeing that. I want to take a look at our HyperX Reflex replay, because there was one moment where he got the arrow on Faker, and we actually got the pro view to see exactly what happened. Perhaps the mastermind was masterminding too much.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this because I actually have not seen the pro view from Faker yet. But this is where it starts, right? Because they're going to try to get the collapse onto Bin. You can see on the mini-map where BLG are pushing in on the top side. Scout is it out, and then Elk hits this arrow. Elk on this Ashe is so, absolutely deadly. He's flipping through lanes.
He's all tapping! Well, not all tapping. He's in the game.
He does not see it coming, and then he's dead.
He didn't
as they continue to collapse on the top side. And again, Elk being on this Ashe pick, I feel like if you want to see, sometimes people overfocus on Ashe arrows, right? If you want to see good Ashe arrow usage, look no further than Elk, because he's phenomenal.
I mean, he has been absolutely incredible.
What I really want to highlight here is how well BLG reads T1. T1 is a team that loves to do this, overload a part of the map, really go aggressive on these turrets to try and gain map control, and they are so clearly not ready for this collapse. And we saw T1 stabilize a little bit after the rough early game. After this point, BLG was never in any danger.
They really weren't. I mean, there was just so many avenues of attack for BLG, and I have to shout out Knight. He played incredibly well in a matchup that is supposed to be advantageous for the Oner in the 1v1. He was dominating Faker from the word go.
Our Oppo player of the game was Knight in this one. We focused so much on the matchup before this, Azale, but just outplayed.
I mean, straight up, you know, he was just dominating him in the 1v1. Faker did chunk him down early, but even after the TP back, he was winning every single trade thereafter. He made Faker base with low HP, with no teleport, lost a full wave, started to fall behind in experience. Knight really showcased his skill in this 1v1.
And his class.
Yeah,
both. New word.
And we heard it from him in the intro, right? Like, he wants people to remember his name as the LPL mid. What a phenomenal phenomenal showing from Knight in this first game. Insane Sejuani ult that he had prepped. And this is what allowed a lot of these BLG collapses was Knight's ult usage and his positioning.
Yeah, and here we see T1, they're getting back to the stage. Of course, we've seen this before. Teams don't necessarily drop more than one game if they start by losing. We hope we don't get a 3-0 for either side. But it's not going to be for T1.
Only one can be done now. And I mean, BLG of all teams know about the first game. I do want to highlight, though, that T1 selected blue side. And I do think, again, this was not a game where you go like, this was unplayable from drop.
Yeah.
This was just gameplay. I do think, though, that T1 in the next game has an opportunity to set themselves up better because we got to talk about it. When that Braum was locked in, I can guarantee you that every single T1 fan let out a collective groan because this player on the Braum just doesn't have the same magic he does on other champions.
Absolutely, and they did have that Yone gambit that we have seen in so many different series where, you know, you go on red side, if you are not playing against a mid laner who is known for these melee champions, who is known for an exceptional Yone, you can say, all right, let's give it over to Faker, let's see what happens in game number 1. Now they lose with it, so that can put the pressure on T1 to have to ban Yone on blue side, which really is a disadvantage for the rest of the series, and it's something we've seen happen a number of times at Worlds.
But you know what the people really want?
What do they want?
To hear us talk a little more. Oh, we do have a little bit more time. There is a PC swap on stage. Didn't get any booze. That's good. So they actually don't hate it. They don't hate it.
Thank you, crowd.
They don't hate it that much. So we have a couple of touching points that we can talk about as well. Maurits, because this is actually something we saw just last week as well. The exact situation with kind of Keria on the Braum. And I think when you think about Keria as a player in the context of the Worlds runs that T1 has done, we always said about pushing the meta forward, about making it happen. Braum just doesn't do it.
Well, yeah, and you might look at this and go, man, that's not bad. I want you to keep in mind which team this is. This is a team that has, particularly domestically, even though they haven't won, they win a whole lot.
Yep.
So this really isn't by itself already a great recommendation for that Braum, but it's when you look at the actual gameplay. Compare this to his Rakan game that we saw in quarters.
Exactly, and that is the big thing to me. It's not the point is Keria's a bad Braum. You know, sometimes when a team, you can pilot. Okay, well maybe you disagree, but to me it's more about how exceptional he is on some of these playmaking champions and how he enables the rest of his team, right? And there are players like this. You know, you were talking about Mako earlier. We were talking about Core JJ and players who can play enchanters, can play different styles, but sometimes they are more well suited, from what the team needs, playing something different.
And I also think in the context of this match specifically, we didn't really get to it, Emily, at the start of in the countdown. The expectation was that Keria has been having a much better tournament. He has been one of the pillars that T1 has built on. And on, it's a meme about the on and off, but generally, right, he hasn't always been as present in kind of the expletives when you talked about BLG so far, and it was something that was going to have to happen. So the fact that we saw this out of Keria in game 1 specifically, we saw how cohesive BLG played with On, making sure that he's with his jungler, with his mid laner, wherever he needs to be, is a good sign for the series for BLG.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really curious to see what T1 end up doing in this draft, right? Because they did target On with the Renata and Rakan coming through on 4-5 in their bans in the first game. And then the Yone test, as you already mentioned, Zale. The big thing for me for Keria, though, is that, again, I did expect T1, and the level 1 kind of ruined this. I did expect T1 to be going for some sort of swap, not want to face BLG in standard lanes necessarily, since they have been so good in the swap. And that's why I really love to see Keria unlock. Like, obviously, everyone's going to talk about his Pike games because they were so fun, but like, if he unlocks, if he's able to affect the mid lane, for example, help Faker in that matchup to really dominate Knight in lane, that's an important part too. I like seeing Keria when he can also be unlocked from the bot lane in some early lane assignment shenanigans.
I mean, I always just think that when the meta is flexible for supports, Keria is the best player in the world. This guy can play so many different styles. He affects the map really well. He can have counter picks for 2v2. He can do so many different things. So I'm really curious if T1 has that in store.
Yeah, I think that's why we really feel that this was the tip of the iceberg, right? When it comes to this best of 5. Now, as we all know, we are here with thousands, 10,000s of you, but Worlds is a global phenomenon, and there are so many watch parties all around the world. We have Thailand, Wuhan, New York City, and many, many, many more. And that is so cool to see, because sometimes I feel like we are kind of in our bubble, right? And we only see what's happening right here. But to know that all of Korea and all of China is watching, as well as everywhere across the world, people care so, so much.
One of my favorite parts of these events as well is actually getting to meet the fans, right? Because League of Legends is online, so many of our broadcasts happen from our studios. It's really hard to connect that, but then you see moments like this. You see the fans both here in the arena. I went out to get a coffee with my dad early this morning. The lines were already inside. This was a
For you?
Yeah, this. No.
For the coffee.
Yeah, no. For the, are you crazy? Come on, I'm not going to do that to talk about myself like that. I think that particularly seeing just in person how passionate people are always gets me excited.
Yes, and we are so lucky that that we get to talk about these matches as well. And of course, the hope that we have a T1 striking back here so we get at least 4 games. Give me one key word that we need to see from T1 as I toss it to the casters, Maurits, that you need to see for them to bring it back in game 2.
Agency. Keria needs to be on something where he can have more impact.
Keria, you need to have more impact. Do you agree with that, Medic?
I think Keria, one of the best supports in the world, if not the best support in the world on his day, but he needs something he can influence the map on. He needs something he can be out and about on. The Braum, for me, is just not it.
Personally, I think that BLG's draft approach was just so smart because as much as I think Gumayusi is an incredible player, I do think that his pool at this World Championship has been a little predictable. And I think that what happened is that by putting them on the Yone and then not locking either an AP jungle or an AP bot laner, it kind of limited the options that T1 actually had on the bot side of the map. Now, do I think that they lost because of the draft? No, I mean, I think BLG really just outplayed them in the early game. But I think that what T1 is good at, or at least what they've shown at this World Championship, is their ability to come back into games, whether it be through clever Barons or fantastic picks. This comp didn't really give them any options to do that. So I want to see them have those options available to them and showcase the playmaking power that this roster does have.
Yeah, I think the big issue here for T1 is not only did they get outplayed in game number 1 on the map, but also it's going to be even more difficult now, I feel like, for them to draft versus BLG, with BLG already calling the Yone shot and then hitting that shot out of the park.
Get on into this Champions Select powered by Omen and HyperX. Again, we see the Jackson there. The blue side Yone ban from T1.
Yep, that's exactly what we're talking about. The knock-on effects of that game number 1.
And the Skarner response as well, not wanting to hand that one over. This means that we're going to see Xin on something different. We've been seeing a lot of Skarner from him recently. And
everyone keeps giving it to him,
I mean, it's true. And I mean, he's going to ban it on his side. So let's see what direction they now go in. T1, what are you going to look to remove? Is Knight Sylas something that you don't want to have to deal with? Or perhaps something like the Kalista, once again, is something that you think is worthy taking off the board?
Yeah, bottom lane has been terrifying. And yet, Knight Sylas was insane. Maybe they would even consider first picking and stealing it away.
Perhaps. Now the Ashe and Kalista are both available. This is an important choice for BLG. Do you ban away the Ashe and then give over the Kalista, which is partially why we see the Varus ban as a solid answer into the Kalista. They're going to take away the Vi instead, so all AD carries are available. The Kalista going to be the lock-in. Bear in mind, BLG could just go for the Ashe themselves.
Ashe is a really good response into the Kalista, always an annoying one, so that's one that T1 will also be expecting, though, coming into this. Now, will they immediately pair it, you know, with like a Renata or something like that, or are they going to try and grab their jungle first?
Well, the Ashe is the obvious lock-in for BLG, isn't it? What are they going to pair alongside it is the question. We will see if they decide to go towards their jungle, or whether you are looking at something like the Renata to make sure that T1 can't have the Kalista Renata bottom side.
Definitely is a possibility. I think, well, in my head I was thinking maybe the Rumble is also a strong possibility for Bin. We've seen it prioritized heavily, and it looks like that's the direction that they're going to go in. So he's going to continue with this power pick on the top side of the map. He's found a lot of success with it over the last year. We saw it introduced last year, but now that means the Renata is available for Keria. We often see him play towards the AD carry that Gumayusi has locked in, and you talked about it in the previous game, Keria loves to roam mid, Kobe. On this champion, he especially loves to roam mid.
And so there we go. They are stealing away the Sylas. Take it, get it in the hands of Faker. Knight, what do you have?
I mean, always look towards the Ahri.
Yeah, or Galio. Okay, so if they do Galio...
It's a Kindred game, potentially.
Exactly. Are we in for a Xin Kindred? Because they're like, oh, he just keeps getting Skarner. Well, some signature picks possibilities. Those are very far down the line.
I mean, you also have the ban phase to go through where T1 could say, well, it looks like a Kindred came to us, so we might just take that away.
It just makes kind of sense here because they have double AP with Galio and Rumble, and when you're playing Kindred, you always want some setup with a mid laner like Galio. So maybe T1 will ban it away.
I don't want
Maybe not. He could still just play like Xin Zhao or something.
I don't want to overcook, but there's always the world where the Rumble goes bot lane, and then there's still a counter pick top for Bin. For now, we'll assume that it's on the top side of the map, given that we're seeing these top lane bans come through. The Gnar going to be taken away, and there's the Kindred. So it seems that T1 had the same read that we did. I wonder if... well, I'd actually be very surprised if they go for something like the Nidalee. But let's see what direction that BLG now go, because they're going to need a little bit more damage to come through from the jungle. They do, of course, have Elk and Bin on these high damage threats. With the Sejuani taken away, the pool in the jungle is getting much narrower.
Could always go towards the Xin Zhao, as you said, Kobe. It's a possibility. Let's see if T1 decide to ban that away. Alongside that, you have the fringe picks like the Graves, even the Poppy a possibility as well.
I mean, Poppy into Sylas and Kalista, both pretty good things to shut down here. A couple of options to hide.
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about the Poppy is you could flex it as well, but Jun, taking his time, thinking about what jungle direction he wants to go, and it's going to be locked in for the Xin Zhao. So I think Galio plus Xin is a great combo. You have that utility in the mid lane provided by the carry threat that the Xin Zhao provides, and an easy engage tool to follow up on any Ashe arrow that connects.
Zin's ultimate is just so good for those team fights as well. They have a lot of synergy here that they could combine. Now on the side of T1 though, the pairing with the Kalista, we do get the Ornn lock in first.
Okay, T1 is responding with some team fighting of their own.
It's also very long range. Ornn ultimates, Nocturne global here as well, semi-global himself, trying to combat some of the global power of the Galio. We have lots of long range stuff.
There's always the threat of the Sylas ulti steals as well, but you have left Ornn's Rakan open quietly in the back line. That support pick wasn't locked in, and when we think about Ornn's career all time, this is his best champion.
It's his most played, it has a 73% win rate. He's battling against Guma, though, with 30 games on Renata, he has an 83% win rate. So the support battle in this game is incredibly exciting. We've already seen the two team compositions being routed out as well. What do we think, guys?
I just think the Rakan is such a good delivery for the Galio as well.
And I just think it's hilarious that here in the World Finals, these players have high win rates on a lot of champions, right? They tend to win a lot, and it's fantastic to see. Game 1, BLG just came out swinging. A phenomenal performance from them, straight from the level 1. T1, you have to imagine they've adapted. Their draft is very different. Their bot side of the map is a lot more confident, faking out on an AP damage threat, and it's going to have a lot of agency with the Sylas to steal away Ashe Arrow, Galio ultimate, along with the Rumble red carpet. It's going to be an interesting matchup for sure.
That it is, and it's going to be the 50th World's Finals game ever. Here in the O2 Arena, we've been blessed to be able to watch a best of 5 between these two teams. I think a lot of people in the audience, even if they're not T1 fans, are hoping that T1 can fight back and take us all the way to 5 games. But BLG in Game 1 came out and clobbered the LCK number 4 seed.
And BLG this year for them has just been so strong, adding Knight to the lineup. First in spring, second at MSI, first in summer in the LPL, and here in finals, up 1 game already on T1.
But BLG as well, it was a team that was, when it was originally built, wasn't expected to have this sort of success. When all the way back, BLG did buy super teams. They were looking for this incredible roster of 5 superstars, but the addition of Bin, Elk, Ornn, Shun, they were looking at a team that would grow into a super team, and that's exactly what they've done, as you say, with the addition of Knight this year.
Bro, they have onto the biggest stage with the entire world watching. They get the
double knock-up already. Keria's down to half HP. He's going to have to flash. Gumayusi cleanses away from Knight. The chase continues. BLG flashing forward. The heal coming out. Gumayusi now slowed by the Ashe, and you can't escape the quiver of Elk. First blood again to BLG.
Are you kidding me? Another one. Level 1 first blood for Elk.
In the exact same spot as Game 1, Gumayusi will lose his life. Summoners blown. And T1, they were just trying to get some vision, get a bit of early information, maybe even drop a ward into BLG's bot side jungle. But the collapse from Ornn and Elk, the chase down of the Ashe, means that BLG draw first blood.
Elk flashes forward so he can get the slows onto Guma, and it's enough. They get both his summoner spells. I mean, a lot of summoner spells were also used offensively by BLG, but it is still going to be the lane swap after the first blood here. T1 will go topside.
Gumayusi and Keria trying to get away from the power of Elk and Ornn. Obviously, Ornn good in lane swaps as well, can absorb a lot of pressure, pretty tanky. He's going to get knocked up here, though, and Zeus might have to burn the flash to get away. Elk with the slows, just going to chip him down to about 190 HP.
Yeah, Zeus couldn't get the timing there. He's trying to get in range for experience on those minions. Takes a lot of damage for it, and now we have Bin going mid to soak experience and do a lot of damage.
Faker taunted up, the Electro Harpoons go into him, but he's able to hold on to the flash for now. Will catch this wave as it crashes towards his tower.
Bin making a beeline towards the bot lane. I mean, I really think they need to set up for a dive onto Zeus. He actually hasn't gone back to base. He's at about 50% HP. You'll notice Xun still on the top side of the map, pathing towards his bot side. Typically, you'd see this split map situation, but both junglers have had access to their side of the map.
And actually, because Keria cancels his recall there, they might make the call to go for the extra pressure on Bin, who teleported in, but it doesn't look like it. Level 2, he acquires it. Meanwhile, Zeus?
He's level 1. He's about 1 minion away from level 2, so 2 tower shots should be enough to tick him over. On here, it's a level 2 of his own. Xun coming in as well to bolster this attack. Zeus underneath the tower. Able to flash away, gets the double knock-up, and look at Ornn, he's about to be turned off! Ornn goes down, Xun almost falls to, escapes that final tower attack.
Ends up being a 1-for-1 trade, but I think BLG's happy with this. Look at all the farm that's being lost. Zeus needs to TP back in quickly to soak up as much XP as he can. The good news is the threat of a redive isn't possible for BLG.
Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Bin had a smart ward earlier over that wall to see when Oner would come to pressure him off that wave, and Bin stuck around to soak up the 2.5. His level now on the Rumble before getting chased out.
Keria looking for Ornn here, Gumayusi here as well. Ornn just trying to shepherd Bin in towards the tower. You can actually see Knight using the TP here. Guma still no flash, no cleanse. The Grand Entrance going to get a knock-up. Knight flashes across the wall. Shielded Duran for the double taunt, and now the Flame Spitter is doing a lot of work. Guma's going to be brought back with a bailout, but can he survive? Down to 100 HP. Knight, the battle dance for Ornn keeps him alive. Oner still chasing, and he rips through a Knight. Now Faker joins the party. A handshake from Keria is one Bin did not want to take. Bin goes down as well, and T1 have 3 on the board.
T1 answer back so well on the top side of the map. Knight tries to punish the flash, the spot lane of T1, but they just don't quite have the damage to take down Gumayusi, and that allows T1 to find the turnaround.
Yeah, look at this. Initially, Keria peels Bin even further back. That handshake will be important because the flash over from Knight, they got the double taunt into the almost combo there onto Guma, but then they have to back up because, like you say, Keria put the bailout on him, and then Oner goes up with a passive auto from Nocturne, gets the kill, and the chase down.
Guma as well in that skirmish recognizes Ornn, tries to get that last auto attack, and takes a quick sidestep backwards to avoid that last auto. Beautifully played by him, and T1 find themselves with the kill lead here in game 2. This is what we wanted to see. Not going down without a fight. Gumayusi not able to secure any of those early kills, but Faker and Oner in a prime position to carry.
But it's also why we talked so heavily about this Renata as a possibility for Keria. You can see not only the handshake, but also the bailout doing so much work when you have the map split like this. Alongside that, the hostile takeover just stops any team from really being able to dive you as the game goes on. Keria is absolutely sublime on this pit.
Now, we've got 35 seconds until the grubs spawn. You'll notice that Elk has chosen to reset, making his way back out towards mid, where Ornn is already there. There is an experience advantage in favor of the T1 support, but Elk already ticking over to level 5 as Knight has actually moved down towards bot lane. No TP available for Knight or Zeus means they can't really get involved. And I wonder how impactful that's going to be, because do you really want to try and fight a Xin Zhao this early on over the grubs? But T1 do have a lot of pressure on the top side of the map.
Yeah, you can see Knight moving up the river now already on the Galio, transitioning over to the objective. Xun has the brush. No W hit there onto Keria, though, for the poke.
Very close level 6 for both Knight and Faker. Those are going to be crucial levels for the upcoming fight. Tick now for Knight and Elk as well.
Yep, soaks it in mid lane here. This could be dangerous for T1.
BLG going to start up the grubs. Xun on them. Ornn still only level 3. Has the flash, has the heal. They'll get one with the smite. Handshake pulls on back, that he can dance out with that W, and he'll manage to get to the relative safety of this top lane tri-bush. T1 will find 2 grubs for their own as they force BLG away.
Yeah, Zeus also able to walk up. He just barely got his level 6 on that Ornn, so big Ornn ultimate coming through. BLG don't want any part of that. It's going to be one of the kind of hangover effects of the lane swap, is that Bin is going to be down in experience here in the 1v1 if they do matchup, but they see them.
Almost out of vision, but they do get spotted. You can see Ornn trying to dance in their health immediately, using the cleanse because he knows T1 can continue to advance. Keria holding the handshake there to get rid of that summoner from BLG.
Knight hovering around the top side jungle, ready to leap in at a moment's notice. No TP available for Bin. Bear in mind, he's still only level 4. He's being denied a lot of experience. With Zeus having the ultimate available, the threat of a dive is a real possibility. Faker keeping his pressure up in mid lane, about to tick over to level 7.
T1 will be able to get the first plate of this push. They're second in the top lane. Bin is catching the wave in mid, not yet level 6.
Yeah, I think it's a good defense there from BLG. They make the call, they sacrifice bottom lane, it's okay. Bin rotate over towards mid, catch that wave, so he can safely get some experience while the rest of BLG trying to defend on the top tower. The big wave on bottom side is going to crash on bot soon, though. Bin has to go.
Yeah, Bin has to go, but that leaves room for Faker to roam up top. Now they can guarantee numbers advantage, and they can set the sights on the tower.
Bin shows now. Do T1 pull the trigger? Do they go for the fight? Zeus was trying to hold the wave. They couldn't quite do it because BLG had enough numbers to force him away. The equalizer that Faker stole away does a little bit of chip damage, but not much else. Unlocked up for the moment as Faker looks for that abscond. That duck can't quite land the chains. Keria and Gumayusi pushing through the wave now. Paranoia coming out. Call of the Forge God is stopped. Zeus dashing forward. The shielded around for the taunt blocked by Oner. The knocker coming out as well as BLG trying desperately to defend the hero's entrance. Cancelled as T1 by 2. Shun forced underneath this turret as well as BLG are walking away wounded.
Such a good play for T1. There were a few seconds left on Bin's teleport. He could not join. They forced the dive on, looking for any recallers.
I mean, T1 is sticking around. The TP will come through.
Shun already down. Bin walks into a scarred battlefield. He'll still take out Gumayusi. In the end, T1 unable to get that extra plate, but they do find kills in the top side.
I do feel that this game, BLG is just running around the map trying to keep up with T1. The pressure that Faker kept in the mid lane, the fact that Zeus had already ticked over to level 6 and they were bleeding so much XP, a nice arrow connects onto Zeus, meaning that he can't follow up with his ulti, but he gets a flash away, a nice spell shield from Oner. The two-man knock-up from Zeus was crucial, allowing Guma to just free fire onto the back line.
Yeah, and the start of it, Guma had tanked 2 tower shots while trying to walk to the rest of the team. Then goes for the ult into flash, follow, and then the repeat on the dive here. Shun trying to do something, and it's only going to be Guma, the sacrifice on the other side. Him not having flash from the earlier play.
But when we get back into game, I want to keep track of the experience and the levels that people find themselves at, because right now, I feel like T1 have a big advantage. Level 7 on the top side, so Bin has been able to catch up. In the mid lane, Knight has also been able to close that gap. Elk, though, with actually a full level lead over Gumayusi, while Keria has now ticked over to level 6. So BLG have done a good job of being able to close that experience gap. But in terms of the gold, you can see big advantages on the side of T1 thanks to these early kills that they've been able to grab.
They've closed it in a lot of spots, but Ornn is level 4 to level 6.
True.
He needs that quickness. He needs that ultimate, especially if you're going to have Knight following up with the hero's entrance. You want everyone locked in there so that the Galio landing knocks them all up. We'll see if Ornn can get some of that XP. Currently, he's just shadowing Elk in the mid lane.
And it should be T1 collecting the next pack of grubs. BLG, they know they don't want to fight that, so they're just trying to pick up Dragon right now. Shun working away on it. See if Knight, how quickly Knight can push this bottom wave, though, for the Galio. His teleport is ready. Ultimate will come up soon.
Yeah, I don't really know if he wants to join this. BLG, they tried to take a fight around the top side and lost out pretty heavily on that. T1 now with a 1.8k gold lead. They'll get their 4th grub, and they're looking to make it 6.
Yeah, Bin uses the Rumble ultimate for the wave, so they're just going to make the call. We will pay for this with some tower plate money here onto the side of Knight. It is quite big to get the full 6 grubs, though, for this T1 comp, because, again, going back to Champion Select, if they are able to open up the map with the Ornn plus Nocturne, you have a lot of long-range pick potential. And now top lane again, the arrow.
It's onto Guma once again. He does have the cleanse, but he holds onto it for now, burns it just as Bin was about to start to burn him. T1 get another plate on the top side 3 minutes before those fall off, and they're investing a lot of time in making sure this top lane goes low.
I mean, right now T1 is playing a very heavy 4-1 style, but they're forcing BLG to respond to the top side of the map. They keep dragging BLG up here, and every time they do, BLG is losing a little bit more on the map. Oner secures level 8, gets another plate in the mid lane. And T1, they're not going to alleviate that pressure. And look at the positioning of Keria here. Something he often does on this Renata is he just walks in your face. He is not afraid. He knows he has the mechanics to be able to outplay you. And it creates this space that allows an easy objective secure for T1.
I'll also say that sort of position is so tricky for the Rakan, because what are you going to do? Jump at him? He just handshakes you out of your jump, and you can never really find the engage. So you have to find flanks. Obviously, BLG weren't looking for a fight in the top side. T1 take the first tower, have a 3,000 gold lead now, and are well in control of this matchup.
Now it's going to calm down a little bit. BLG going for their resets at the moment. The outer tower on top side being down could be problematic if T1 can get the early push there and then transition over towards that mid lane. Currently, though, they actually send Guma and Keria back down bottom, try and get their push there first.
The Herald is going to be crucial for T1, I think, to unlock that mid tower. I think that this comp can be a little difficult to see. Oh, Keria.
Keria's going to face check, knocked up with a Justice Punch, but again, the handshake stops Knight from being in range for that Shield of Durand Taunt. Elk is on his way as well, 4 seconds on the arrow. He'll look to see if he can catch out Guma. And underneath the wave, he just volleys away the minions instead.
But you see the confidence that Keria has?
Yeah.
Happy to face check in a situation like that. He's going to be chipping away over this ward right now. Good control from Ornn. Still not level 6, by the way.
All right, we are going to get the early push on top side for Zeus as well. The early tempo here for T1. What play can they create with it? He doesn't quite have teleport, so it is a little awkward, and he's not even going for the recall, so doesn't look like they're going to force quite yet. But you always have to look at these hovers from Oner. The Nocturne kind of shadowed there with Faker Sylas, making the roams, threatening down to the side. And the Hawk shot cooldown is very important for BLG. Every time they're trying to find that play before it happens.
It certainly is. The Herald likely going to be the next big point of contention. The reset's coming through for T1 as Keria already making his way back out onto the map. Oner's going to be the first to the topside river. The Scry's Bloom going to be popped by Bin to spot on any vision, but none has actually been laid down just yet. Keria's just replenished his stock of wards. Meanwhile, BLG, heavy investment on the bot side, Kobe. You can see all these wards being set up to reclaim control over that area of the map. But this is where T1 want to focus. Shun knows that the objective has started off, and the bot lane of BLG now regrouping with the rest of the team.
See, T1 have just had Prio in basically every single lane. 9 plates to 3 in this game. Oner did start up the Rift Herald. Her patience is going to run out, and she'll scuttle her way back towards the pit for now.
And in payment for that, Zeus is able to, again, push another top wave.
You can see in the MasterCard lane economy snapshot just how different it looks from Game 1. In Game 1, it was only Gumayusi who I think had a 40 gold lead, the only speck of blue on there. Now is T1 across the board, having leads apart from Bin in that top side. Knight and Faker trading here, Faker down to half HP. Meanwhile, across towards the Rift Herald, that handshake from Keria going wide. Ornn does have the quickness. Faker still trading down towards the bottom side. Knight goes in with the Justice Punch. Keria down at half HP. BLG gonna get the advance through the mid lane. Faker and Knight unable to do much more than just slap each other around. No one is going to fall in that bot lane for now.
Those side lane trades are so interesting because Knight's trying to make the trade as quick as possible, get use out of the aftershock.
Oh, Ornn just pulled back with a handshake. He's going to have to grand entrance his way to a grand exit. Manages to escape for now. For a second, I thought he might fall. Faker dashing back in, lands the abduct as well. The taunt will connect onto him and slow his advance in that bot side, but with wave pushed in, he now has the opportunity to back into Fog of War and then TP into the fight. T1 still looking for a bit of a battle around this Rift Herald. The question is, will BLG acquiesce to their request to take a fight towards this top side?
And it looks like they're going to go for the recall first there for Knight because of the extended trade that Faker was able to get on him. Knight goes back to base, full heal, teleport out.
I mean, the important thing here is Faker didn't reset before TPing in, so he's at half HP. Does have the quickness stolen away. The Scuttle Crab will go across. Ornn goes in with the quickness, knockback with the Crescent Guard as well. Call of the Forge not coming down as the dart comes in. The hostile takeover just possesses BLG. It's 2 already. The hero's entrance. A swift exit back to the fountain for Knight as T1 clean up the fight.
It's just a bloody brilliant re-engage, isn't it, from T1? Just as BLG find that nice knockup, Jun goes in, actually knocks Faker over the wall, but then the wombo combo comes back in, and T1 find the fight that they've been looking for.
Oh, that was so juicy with the Ornn and Renata there. locked them up. T1 will claim that Rift Herald in the aftermath as well, but look at the initiation. So On is originally going on to Keria and Faker, locking them up, but Zeus gets an Ornn ultimate into the double knockup, into the Renata ultimate over it. Faker coming back over the wall from the blue buff, and T1 are able to chase them out.
Yeah, the chain CC there. I mean, Gumayusi also threw Keria the knockup as well. It was knockup into ulti into just a great wombo combo. This is the T1 and their ability to find these plays. They didn't have that in game 1, but in game 2, they are finding them plenty. Now, with a 4K gold lead 17 minutes in.
It's the power of the paranoia as well. Like, BLG are just advancing into darkness. Like, okay, we got Faker, but you're so far away, I can't even see you anymore. I don't know how to follow up. And then T1 just throw everything into the mix. And now they are looking for their first dragon of the game, a 5,000 gold lead over BLG. Very similar to how far ahead BLG were in game 1, although obviously T1 had yet to take all of the towers we saw BLG manage to do.
Becomes pretty problematic for BLG on those sides, and so T1, they're just going to force down the dragon, immediately rotate everybody over to this outer tower. Wait, lying in the fog of war. If anyone from BLG steps up, have to be a little bit careful there, so sacrifice the tower initially, and then as you said, they have the Rift Herald still in pocket that they can then use for the mid tower.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to deep push out this bot wave to kind of keep Knight on the map a little bit longer. The resets can now come through, and they can reset back out into mid. It's an easy setup and an easy siege thanks to the Ornn ultimate that can be used to zone them away from the tower. Faker going to catch that mid top wave, going to look to reset as well. And look, here comes the resets through into mid. In fact, they don't even bother basing. They actually just make a beeline towards that lane. And now they set their sights on the mid tier 1.
Yeah, BLG have to be so careful when they're collecting these waves. Look at Knight and Bin collecting their waves pretty far back at towers. Arrow from downtown.
Elk gets a taste of his own medicine, but he should be able to survive this, especially with Jun coming in from the side. We'll take a spear to the back for his time in the mid lane, but T1 just used the fact they've stunned out Elk to take down that mid tier 1.
And look, Knight can't actually afford to push out that bot wave, even though he knows that the play is happening in mid. If he overextends, the thing that Kobe's been talking so much about is the threat of the side lane play. And now on the top side of the map, Faker looking for a bit of a scrap.
Realizing he doesn't really have the manpower here to back him up, the arrow going wide.
But he's crucially drawing members to the top side, and now the bot lane play becomes an option for BLG. They have the push in mid, they have another wave that they can catch on bot, and then they can start putting pressure on the tier 2 tower, and if Knight overstays, there's the threat of a dive.
Both these teams so good when getting ahead, and we're seeing it here from the opposite side. T1 in game number 2 with 6 grubs, remember how quickly they can take these towers. They're just going to siege up at this turret, try and spawn those grubs, and they rotate Faker down after pushing topside. Again, you see Bin having to collect those minion waves at the tower, and it's always the first move there for T1. Again, the power of Nocturne here lurking in the jungle means that BLG constantly have to defend at towers.
That's the thing you've got to be careful of. Ooh, he's going to ride that one into the tower, and they're going for the dive.
Vortigo coming out as well. Elk locked up towards the top side. The Rift Herald did charge in. Half the tower has been a loss, but BLG able to hold on to the rest of it for now.
So that's an example of what we're talking about with the Ornn ultimate, just using it as a zoning tool. I got a bit ahead of myself, expecting there to be a full-on dive. T1 going to show a lot more respect than that. But what I was trying to say earlier is that it's not the 4-man stack you've got to keep an eye on when it comes to T1. It's actually just the individual sitting on a side lane, whether it be Guma, Oner, Faker, or Zeus. They'll just push out that extra wave to get it deep, force BLG to both respond to the 2 pushing waves, and then that extra member comes and pushes in that 3rd one to then catch you off guard and then get away on this chip damage on the tower.
And the 6 grubs is so nice for them.
So powerful.
When they're constantly rotating between these towers, even though T1 have a very short range composition, they just kind of go up into range, spawn their little grub mites, and get little bits of chip damage on those towers. Meanwhile, On trying desperately to get the first step of a play, the early vision, the advanced warning, the extra information for BLG to try and craft a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, crucially, BLG have potentials to find pick. Ashe Arrow is famous for catching you off guard, and that's ultimately what they're looking for, and why that highlight was so good, Kobe, because Onn's vision is going to be crucial to allow them to find those picks.
T1 agree with both of you. 5 sweepers. 5 sweepers and a paranoia. They're putting as much darkness on this map as they can for BLG. They realize the only way BLG really get back into this game is by finding a few of those picks, a few of those team fights where they have a numbers advantage, and by stopping them having vision anywhere, they're stopping them having that advantage.
It is something that T1 have shown so much success at this tournament. Just denying your opponents a vision and then making picks, making these plays, being very quick in their active thinking here. And so step number 1 accomplished. Step number 2 now, try and draw out BLG into the dangerous open area of the map. Dragon will arrive shortly, of which they can try and utilize that. But once again, you see T1 first on the side waves, pushing those ones in, and they have their double teleports ready, plus Nocturne ultimate.
Again, the side waves are so annoying for BLG now. It's constantly catching and catching and catching, and it's T1 that always get that push out onto mid. Holding this mid tier 1 is so valuable as well. Dragon, 20 seconds. Of course, the threat of Assault not quite there yet for either side. T1 set their sights on the enemy camps, and they're looking to suffocate BLG out from more.
All right, BLG.
Oh, the flank.
Zeus has got behind them here, brings the call of the Forge God. Paranoia, paranoia! Everyone's out to get you, Elk! He falls first, still has both his summoners. On's gonna dash away. The chase comes in by Faker, steals away the quickness. A hero's entrance from Knight just to defend. His support, T1 though find one, and they'll turn their eyes towards the Drake.
Ornn and Nocturne, it is just too dangerous to step out onto the map, out in front of any of your towers. And as soon as they do, T1 close the trap shut. They get their extra kill.
Elk doesn't even use a summoner spell, and I understand why. Like, what's the point?
He's like,
When
yep,
are
you got
gonna
me.
go? And he'd rather save it for the upcoming fight. He knows that there's still Wasteland to come back into the game. Knight, I think, is a little too tanky to fall to this little skirmish in the mid lane. But it all comes back to what you gentlemen were talking about earlier, the denial of vision, creating this fog of war that is ever present on the side of BLG.
BLG at this point just kind of have to cobble together as much gold as they can off the map and try and create at least some more 2-item power spikes here, hopefully for Knight to get his second, and then try and rely on some magnificent team fighting. It's going to be so difficult versus T1 though. Again, Faker here, hide on bush.
Just going to chip away at Knight. Knight, as you say, very, very tanky. Has that Bramble Vest as well to try and reduce a little bit of the healing coming out from T1. The arrow comes down. Just wide of Faker. On still on the chase here. The rest of BLG is starting to back away, and On realizes they don't want to advance any further. Don't have the vision around the blue buff where T1 are beginning to advance themselves.
I mean, Faker does have the global aggro debuff that we've all known him to have.
Him and Teemo, the two.
Yeah, BLG not going to be baited in, or they see Faker here.
Been trading with Zeus. Quickness coming out as they look to be engaged. They find Faker. So has the flash. Paranoia comes out. The pressing guard will keep Faker alive for the moment. And Keria has a flank position of its own. Oner has the bailout on his shoulders. And Shun is already down. TP now invested from Bin or from Knight as they look to rejoin the fight. Elk goes down. On follows suit. And T1 have been able to defend Faker. They keep him alive. Faker flashes. And Knight can't find him. T1 find 4. Only Bin left standing.
Many have tried before, but Faker does not fall that easily. His team is quick to react, and just like that, 4 members down. T1 will secure the Baron.
BLG knew we are falling behind. We have to make an attempt at a pick ourselves. They try and go at Faker, but T1 pounce in response.
It's just the one player that is so hard to catch, and that is not because he is an individual makes these crazy outplays, it's because his team is so quick to respond. Look, Oner is there starting off the Baron with him, immediate ultimate into the backline. He steals away the Xin Zhao ultimate to create a bit of space, but he dives into the fight, knowing that Keria is on the way. The heal comes through from Gumayusi, and then the turnaround, and Faker crucially sticks around. He applies the slow onto Knight, he gets a bit of a heal as well. And then T1 turn the play around, and they hand a triple kill over to Gumayusi.
All right, back to live. You can already see the ramifications of that play. The Baron buff in the hands of T1. Walking up these towers, they just fall over in front of them. This series here, very likely to get evened up. The response in game number 2 for T1, taking back the Sylas.
They are 12,000 gold ahead or thereabouts, and T1 advance on 2 lanes. Faker in mid has stolen away Elk's ultimate and has used it to great effect so far this game. Gumayusi has a masterworked Blade of the Ruin King alongside a Terminus and a Ginsu's. Look at Elk still about half an item behind. T1 continue to pile the pressure on. On looks for Oner, can't find him. BLG just trying to find some semblance of an engage, trying to find some way to break through the armor of T1 right now, and perhaps it's Faker that they want, but he dives back in onto Xun. Half HP now on the Xin Zhao, and T1 just chipping away. That's all they need to do. They have the Baron buff for another minute's time.
Again, Baron buff and 6 grubs just solve so many siege problems. Arrow gonna get juked.
Flash was lost there for Keria, but the damage is still being done. BLG's picked.
There they go.
Quickness, paranoia coming out. The quickness goes in. Gumayusi locked up here. Ascension's going in as well as Knight looks for the back line. But already he needs to look at his own team because they are being ripped to shreds by T1. It was a valiant effort, but BLG find nothing.
T1 will strike back in game number 2 to even it up here in London.
Try as you might, T1 are on home turf. And we're going to a best of 3.
Lethal efficiency from T1 as they change up the draft. And even though they concede first bloods, they're able to bounce back with some incredible team fights.
Both teams have been so good at snowballing their lead, so good when they get ahead.
They really have. It's been a seesaw so far. BLG had game 1, T1 showed up very solidly in game 2. The question is, will that seesaw continue to swing the way it has, or will we see BLG maybe go to the blue side for the first time here in the World's Finals?
Everybody's been looking at Yone as this pick all tournament long, but really Sylas may be stealing the show.
It certainly may very well be. Now, you can dominate the Rift with Opera GX and have a chance to secure a Masterwork chest and key to Celebrate Finals. Get your official league mods for your browser, access a dedicated Riot Corner for tournament news, and enjoy a brand new co-streaming hub. We'll be back after this.
Dominate the Rift with Opera GX. Install any official LAAAAA esports mod from GX Store to unlock bonus content and features. Browse the collection and choose a mod. Open GX Corner and scroll to the Riot section with a brand new co-streaming hub. Set your language and choose a stream. Only on the browser for gamers. Only on Opera GX.
Crushed by your own gravity. I'll be your monster. This is necessary.
Red Bull gives you wings.